today I've been asked to give a little bit of context and some food for thought really for the rest of the day. So I'm going to give you some of our latest research on some of the trends and insights of how well we've been performing, how things are changing for visitors and the visitor economy in England, and what opportunities for destinations and businesses are there. So just first though, a quick recap of who Visit England are as the National Tourist Board. Most of you will be familiar with what we do, most of our work. I'm not going to read out everything that's on the screen there, you can read it for yourselves, but just to highlight a couple of things to you. Firstly, it's not just promotional activity that we do. Yes, it's a large part of our work, but it's also an awful lot of policy, significant amount of research, and also a lot of business support. Second point I'd make as well is that destinations, both the places, the local areas, and the businesses within them are absolutely critical. As Mandy said, there's one thing that cannot be denied in tourism is tourism takes place in destinations, in your businesses. So all of the work that we do, as much as it says there about advising government, is with destinations and businesses in mind. And it's our job to help destinations and businesses thrive and grow. Just wanted to show you a couple of the more familiar things that you might see from us. So this is some of the promotional activity that Visit East Lincolnshire have been involved with. So some of our thematic campaigns, the Countryside Breaks and the Coastal campaigns, which take place both on and offline. And this is just some more of the collateral that's in field at the moment. But it's not just thematic campaigns that we do, we also do different types of marketing activity. So we worked with our friends Wallace and Gromit on a campaign called Get Packing, and it was really to highlight the opportunities with tour operators and travel agents. And it was run, I think, towards the end of 2012. It was incredibly popular, and we've decided to run it again. And it's currently, you'll be able to see the advert both online and also at cinemas and TV as well, I think. So why are we interested? Why do we want other people to be interested in the visitor economy? Well, it is fundamentally big business, and the numbers speak for themselves. It's worth over £106 billion to the UK economy, and it provides 2.6 million jobs. But it's quite unique in some respects, because not only has it grown through recession, but it's projected to continue to grow, and to continue to grow on average by 5% year on year, which looks like 217 billion by the year 2025. And also, unlike other sectors, and I love saying this, it benefits every single part of the country. It's not a sector that can be offshored in any way at all. But just to be clear, we do talk about the visitor economy, increasingly so, rather than just tourism. And that's perhaps because tourism has got a little bit of a perception about it. You say to some people tourism who don't understand what tourism is about, they think just hotels, they might think just attractions, they might think just seaside. But actually, when you think about tourism in its widest sense and where visitors go, what they experience, the different type of visitors that you have, you start to understand the real big impact that it has. It's not just accommodation, attractions, restaurants and bars. Visitors also spend money on retail, they spend money on transport, and other types of things when they're here. And it's not just leisure, it's also business as well. What that looks like, certainly last year, if you take the split between overnights and day trips and inbound, you'll see that the domestic overnight holiday visitors was by far the biggest part of that pie. Day trips are also significantly important. What I should also say is that growth and that volume varies across the country. And you'll know yourselves how well business is doing here locally. But across the country, we take a national picture and we can see which regions and which areas are performing and how they're performing over a period of time. And we know that London consistently performs well, and so does the South West. And one of the challenges that we've got is to spread that growth and spread the opportunity across the whole of the country. Just a bit of a plug for some of the research that we do, and I don't expect you to be able to read anything that's on here, but if you are interested in specific information and insights on either rural or coastal tourism, we do have some new research which is available on our website. You can go and have a look. It's got lots of stuff on there on how the countryside and coastal tourism is performing and what the opportunities are, some of the things which I'll be picking up as we go through. So how have we been doing? This is one of the few slides you may not be able to read from where you're sitting, but you'll probably have access to the slides afterwards, so you can go and look at the numbers in detail if you want to. But this is a rolling chart of visitor numbers that we've been doing since 2006. You'll see around the time of the credit crunch that there was a big pickup. And it's kind of had that steady sort of line since that point. Last year, we saw a bit of a dip, and whilst and you think back and you think, well, actually the summer was fantastic, which is very true, but of course we had a fairly poor start to the year and a not great end to the year with the weather. So it's not perhaps surprising, and also post-Olympic year as well, that we did have a bit of a dip. But if you look over the past 3 years, the average growth has actually been 5% over those 3 years. So really some good positive stories there about how well we've been performing. But where next? Where do we go? How can we try to continue that growth, or at least maintain it, and try to avoid perhaps any kind of decline in the growth that we've seen? And I'm going to share now with you some of the future trends work and stats that we've got, just to help to understand what we could perhaps do to make sure that we do increase that growth opportunity. So first, let's think about consumers and how they've changed. First of all, the confidence that consumers have got. We've been tracking consumer confidence since the credit crunch in 2008. Basically how concerned they were about the state of the economy, the security of their jobs, and how worried they were about making ends meet. Now, as you can see, things have improved in recent time, but there's still over half of the population that are concerned about making ends meet, which is going to have an impact on their choices for holidays. But also what we've seen during that time is the people who are taking holidays, the more affluent people that are perhaps taking more holidays, because there is a suggestion to say that perhaps they're not taking as many breaks overseas, and they're actually switching to take more domestic breaks. Some have suggested that perhaps this is a threat in the sense that when we see the recovery, perhaps they'll say, oh, great, I've got more money, I'll go back abroad again. But actually what we do know is when we've been speaking to consumers that have switched and have come to England and experienced what great facilities and great product we've got here, is that they said, well, yeah, perhaps I will take a holiday abroad, but I'm not going to give up my English holiday as well. I want to take both, not necessarily either or, which I think is an important thing to remember. The other thing that we've seen in recent times, and I'm sure many of you are familiar with it, is the desire to seek deals from consumers. This idea of discretionary thrift, one of the lovely buzzwords in our trends report. It's been, and as this quote says from one of the large hotel groups, that it's been quite habit forming. People now expect to find deals. They look for deals, they look for more value for money, and that's something that has become a learnt habit, and it's probably not going to change. So it's going to be increasingly important for destinations to get the right message about what offers are available, but also for businesses to make sure that what offers they are doing ensure their profitability remains. It's something to consider for your own businesses and for the destination. We also know as well that whilst residents have cut back perhaps on their essential spending, the things in their household, actually the amount of money that they've spent on leisure time and culture has increased. Kind of counterintuitive, you might think, but we know that people's lives are a lot more stressful, they have a lot more time, and they actually see now that leisure time is essential. Taking that break out is really important, and that's only set to continue. It's also clear to say that it's perhaps older generations that have been driving the changes in the visitor economy. So the over 55s have over 31% increase in the over 35s taking holidays since we started this research. And it's a trend that's likely to continue. But one thing that's perhaps important to think about is that people of an older generation are changing. It's the baby boomers that are now looking to retire. And of course, we know with changes to health and well-being, people are a lot more active when they get to that age group. So people's expectations and desires of holidays have changed to what they would have been 15, 20 years ago. But also, there's going to be an increase in younger people as well. So there's going to be a lot of people in the under 18 category. And when you think back to the previous slide, which I'm not going to be able to get to on from here, where there was, I told you I couldn't multitask. I won't go back because I'll mess the whole thing up and I'll be even further out of time. But actually, one of the things that said there's less people in that age bracket taking holidays. Okay, so less people in the under 20s are taking holidays. Now, if that age bracket is getting bigger, then we've got a challenge to make sure that those people in that age bracket understand what the holiday opportunities are in this country. And at the same time, families aren't what they used to be. Now, this is something that's been happening for quite some time, and I know Mandy did some work with East Midlands Tourism a while ago about the changing dynamics of the family unit. But this has just continued to change. Same-sex, single parent are very much the norm. But again, this has got to be something that's going to be taken into account for businesses and for destinations on how they adapt and how we actually change messaging and customer service for different types of families. It's also true to say that holidays are getting shorter and shorter. So it's almost just gone from nearly 4 days to an average of 3 days. Variety of different reasons for this, from lifestyle, financial, but also because people actually want to take more short breaks, which is a real opportunity for us, because England very much has an opportunity around the short break market. But also when you throw into the mix the fact that last minute is very much the norm. You know, it's over 50% of people now think about a holiday choice within a month of actually going on holiday. That has a big change on how we actually put marketing and messaging out to consumers about when they decide when they're going to be going. And of course, the internet is making a huge impact. It has over the past few years. Online booking has grown by over 100%. Our researchers love this because they can never say things grow by over 100%, but with online booking it has in domestic travel, and it's set to continue to grow. So one of the key messages here is if as a business you're not online, you need to get online or you're going to miss out. And there is an awful lot of businesses that still aren't online. It also underlines the importance for both enterprise partnerships and others who are involved in superfast broadband, the importance of broadband to small businesses and rural areas. We're seeing also a change in how people are accessing the internet. It's not just sitting in an office or at a desk anymore. It is very much getting information on the hoof, on smartphones, on tablets. And it's not the type of person you would necessarily associate with having a smartphone. It's not necessarily just the young that have tablets. I saw some research recently that actually the majority of tablet owners are in the over 50 brackets, not the under. So there are some perceptions there that need to be challenged. But we are seeing that significant change. And it's not just before people arrive or even whilst they're here, but afterwards. Because people are using social media to tell other people about their holiday trips. They're using it to upload photos. They're using it to talk on social media about their experiences. And that's just not only about the place, about individual businesses. So that customer service review can be very, very instant. Now there is a trend which I hate these acronyms, but I can't help it. It's FOMO, the fear of missing out. It's the fact that people always want to be online. Saw some other research. The average person's got about 7 online devices now across the country, which is remarkable. And most of us take at least one of them out with us. You saw the previous slide of how much that's increased over time. So people do want to be online, so it's important in businesses and in destinations to have that access. But also, there is the opposite to that. There's what one of our marketeers referred to as JOMO, the joy of missing out. Actually, the ability to turn off as well. So you need to understand your visitors to understand whether they'll want to be consistently online or whether they actually enjoy the fact they can turn off and get away from it all. Now there's lots and lots of stuff here in terms of trends and research, and I've only really just skimmed the surface. If you go to visit englandtrends.com, you'll see a whole wealth of information there about the social, the technological and the demographic changes that are taking place in this country that's impacting the visitor economy. how it will impact on destinations, the messaging that can be given to attract more people here, and how businesses can and should adapt to the changing marketplace. Fabulous, I managed to work out how to go backwards when I wanted to go forwards. There we go. So we've also got a huge amount of stats. Some of the stuff that I've shown there and the rural and the seaside reports are all found on visitengland.org/insights-statistics. Huge amounts of stuff there, something like 160 different reports we produce every year. And for us, this is important. Why? Well, we're looking now to the England's strategic framework for tourism. It's halfway through. If you don't know what the strategic framework is, this is our blueprint for growth. This describes how the visitor economy in England can grow by 5% year on year, which will add an additional £50 billion worth of expenditure and an additional 225,000 jobs. All of the stuff that we've done, the research and the stats, really goes to inform this piece of work. We're at the moment doing a midterm review, which we'll launch next year, and we very much want destinations and businesses to take part in that review. And you'll see some things coming out over the summer that we want you to sort of talk to us about, either through Visit East Lincolnshire as your destination management organisation or directly to us as the National Tourist Board. But all of this stuff really is important for us to how we go forward. But both the framework, one of the key things with the framework is that it drives collaboration and partnership. We cannot do this alone. We're the National Tourist Board, but as we said right from the beginning, tourism happens in destinations. You're the ones that are at the coalface of this. And collaboration is really key for us, and whether that's locally, whether that's regionally, or whether that's nationally, whether that's with the destination management organisation, the local authority, or the local enterprise partnership, it is critical. And the final thing that I'd leave you in terms of a message is don't just focus on the promotional activity. Make sure you focus on the quality of the destination and the experience for the visitor. It's all very well getting people here, but actually if they don't have a great experience, they're not necessarily going to go away and talk about it to their friends and in a positive light, and they may not come back. They may not spend as much money. So it's absolutely critical that when they're here, they have a fantastic time, which I have no doubt that they will when they come to East Lincolnshire. If you want to find out more information, that's the National Tourism website, our Twitter account, YouTube, and we also do fortnightly newsletters. If you don't already receive them, go onto the website and you can sign up for them.